just say hello, and I'm sorry not to be able to address you in Catalan, but obviously my skills is very limited, so I'm going to try to give the speech in English for you. And I'm also going to try to adjust my pitch on the fly, because a lot of things have been said about the San Sebastian experimentation, so I'm going to try not to say again the same thing. Okay, here we go. So a few words about EasyMile, because I guess most of you have probably never heard about the company. We are a French-based company headquartered in Toulouse, 4 years old, so I guess we still qualify as a startup. The current headcount is about 130 employees, most of them being in France, but we have quite a bunch of people in Singapore, some in Denver, Colorado, and we have also an office in Berlin. We are a privately funded company, and we have two important minority shareholders. One of them is Alstom, so pretty well known, I guess, among yourself as a provider of, railway, tramway, and now bus stuff, as well as Continental, the automotive supplier. So what do? We are mainly known as a shuttle provider, but this is definitely not what we do. What we do is develop technology to make vehicles in general fully driverless. So we collaborate with different industrial companies. Ligier is one of them. So Ligier is a French car manufacturer. They specialized in micro cars, license-exempt cars, very lightweight. And we have developed with them this EZ10 shuttle that we will see later on. But we have also different projects that are not so well known by the public, because the product is not yet released as a commercial product. We are still working on prototypes and proof of concept. So one of them is a tramway. We have a joint project with Alstom to robotize the tramway. A first proof of concept has been shown in January this year, together with RATP, the Paris transportation operator. And now we are in the second phase of that project to reach, close to commercial phase within 1 year. We have also projects in the material handling area. So that means that the same technology that we apply to buses and mini shuttles and tramways can also be applied in the logistics area. So obviously the vehicle, the object is very different. So in that case, it's a tow truck, a 25 tons tow truck. We have also a project with Iveco. So in 3 years down the road, we hope that we can have a commercial product, 12-meter bus, fully autonomous, no steering wheel, no pedal. And we have also, for the time being, confidential projects with very large car OEMs to robotize passenger cars. So this is what we do. And currently, because the only commercial product that we have in hands is the shuttle, our natural customers are very large transportation operators. So all the companies you can see here are our customers. Transdev, I know that there's one Transdev representative somewhere in the room here. RATP in Paris, but also Deutsche Bahn in Germany. First Transit, who's #1 in the US and in the UK, is our customer. BVG, who's the equivalent of RATP, but for Berlin. This is the Berlin Metropolitan Area Transportation Operator. Road Transport Authority Dubai, the Swiss National Railway Company, or Nobinar, who's the largest bus transportation company in the Scandic countries. So that's all for EasyMile. The second part of my presentation was about the City Mobile 2 in general and San Sebastian project in particular. So I'm going to try to shorten it a little bit because now you know already pretty much everything about that. So the City Mobile 2 was a European funded project. This is all the cities here where experimentations have been carried out. A fleet of 12 vehicles have been provided, 6 of this type. The vehicle looks a little bit funny, very lab style, kind of craftsmanship. And the other one that is much more industrial. So this one is called Robust City. The other one is our EasyTen. Actually, EasyMile was operating both of them. A couple of words about the San Sebastian, but you know already pretty much everything about it. Most of the route was actually in mixed traffic. Only a small portion was on a dedicated lane, and that was with, I think, the Trikala in Greece, the only City Mobile 2 project in mixed traffic. All the other experimentations have been done in segregated areas, so separate from the rest of the road users. So that was a big challenge for us at that time. I mean, there's always a first time, but I mean, we learned a lot from this experimentation in terms of mixed traffic operations. So the rationale and the expectations, I guess you heard already from my predecessor what I mean the rationale for doing that project. So I'm not gonna go down bullet by bullet. So what's the outcome as perceived by the manufacturer? High interest of the people, no accident. But at the end of the day, commuters never gave up their car. So most people actually used the shuttle because it was a kind of attraction. They were excited, but finally they keep using their car. One of the reasons they keep using their car is the speed and the frequency of the service. The problem when you try to provide a service under the name of an experimentation is most of the time you don't have the scale to provide a real service. If there is one shuttle per 30 minutes, I mean, and it takes you for 1 kilometer, well, if you miss the shuttle, you just walk. You don't wait for the next one. So after a while, people get used to the fact that, okay, I missed it, I'm going to walk. So it becomes useless. You cannot rely on it. So if we really want using first and last mile solutions to help people give up their private car and go for, a mix of mass transit solution like the bus or the metro and shared autonomous vehicles, we have to provide a real service on which people can really rely on. Frequency, availability, all day long, no breakdown, can operate under the heavy rain, under the fog, under the snow. Well, I don't know if you have much snow in Barcelona, but we also noticed a serious issue, and it's not specific to Spain, I'm afraid. It's kind of universal. Antisocial behaviors. A lot of people, they try their luck, they just jump in front of the vehicle to see how it feels. They just completely forget that inside the vehicle there are passengers and the emergency stops are not so comfortable. And one day, it's just a question of statistics, someone will get injured or even worse. And not only the passengers, because people tend to forget that even though those vehicles are full of electronics and they have very smart algorithms, they are still subject to the laws of physics. When you have a 3 tons object moving at 25 kilometers an hour, it cannot stop within an inch. There is friction, and if the ground is wet, so one day someone will get too close to the vehicle and too fast, and some problem will happen. So people now need to be educated and understand that physics is physics. And there's nothing we can do against that. So the systems are calibrated in such a way that if pedestrians walk at a normal pace, like the pace of a pedestrian, nothing wrong will happen. If someone really run and jump in a way that is completely unnatural, we cannot guarantee that something wrong will not happen. So we would love people to start understanding that this is still physics, and a 3 tons moving object can be dangerous. They would never do that with a vehicle that is driven by a human being. So the next part, and it's going to be the last part of the presentation, is what happened since City Mobile 2, because that sounds like a century ago now. It was, what, 2 years ago? 2.5 years ago? 2 years ago. But at the scale of this technology, it's now completely outdated. So what happened in between? On the Easy Mile side, we have deployed about 70 Easy 10 shuttles worldwide. They have participated to about 170, probably 180 experimentations in 21 countries. There's one missing. Actually, it's China. There's China. The Chinese flag is not on the map. So we have tried many types of environments, both in terms of climate, extreme climates like Minnesota in winter with minus 30 degrees, Dubai in summer, plus 49. Last time I went to Dubai, it was plus 49 degrees. Extreme humidity in Singapore. We have 2 vehicles in operations in Singapore since more than 2 years. We have probably a dozen of vehicles in the US, between Florida, California, Texas, Minnesota, and others. And pretty much every European countries have done experimentation so far. So we have gathered a lot of experience. It becomes quite a routine now to deploy a fleet of autonomous vehicles. So what's the next challenge now? Actually, the real challenge now is to move from experimentations to commercial operations. And to do that, there is one step that is, at this stage, incredibly difficult to take, which is the first bullet point: remove the safety driver. If you look at the economics of such operations, you're going to buy an expensive vehicle, because for the time being, AVs are still much more expensive than conventional vehicles. So you're going to buy an expensive vehicle, and you still need a driver. And let's be frank, you need a driver not because this is legal. You need a driver because, technically speaking, for the time being, we cannot match the skills of a human driver in terms of safety. Keep in mind that for passenger cars in general, I'm not even talking about bus, which is even better, but in average, in Europe and in the US, there is one fatality per 150 million kilometers traveled, regardless of the weather conditions, highway, urban environment, everywhere. This is the average. We cannot accept to do worse than that. And we have to admit that this is a very, very tricky challenge. It is let's say, acknowledged in France that we should, to be socially acceptable, the AVs, autonomous vehicles, should generate less than 1 fatality per billion with a B, 10 power 9, kilometers traveled. When you try to figure out what kind of adverse scenarios can happen within such a wide scope, everything will happen. Breakdowns combined with bad weather conditions, combined with stupid behaviors of the other road users, it will happen. It's just a statistics. I'm not talking about what happened to Uber. So we have to think about any kind of scenario. And typically, when you start operating at speeds around, let's say, whatever can happen on the left lane of the highway, if something wrong happens or something unknown, you cannot take the option of stopping. Because on the left lane of the highway, if you stop, within 1 minute, you're dead. So first thing, we can operate only in areas where everyone travels at low speed, and in case something not anticipated happens, making a stop is a safe decision. And that reduced already dramatically the scope of the operations. We have to take care about the weather conditions. So we try to characterize very precisely our sensors, the sensor set, and make sure that there's no mud on the sensors, the fog is not too thick. It's incredibly difficult to guarantee, to prove formally that we can actually stick with this benchmark, which is just the human driver benchmark. So true, there are too many fatalities on the roads due to human errors. But keep in mind that the number of kilometers traveled on the road is incredibly high. So the number of fatalities per kilometers traveled is incredibly low. And it's very, very difficult to match. So our role as a manufacturer is try to find what we call the operational domain design, so the scope of operations within which we can guarantee that we can do better than that without a safety driver. And it's going to take time. So the second challenge is improve the speed without compromising safety. It's much easier actually to guarantee the safety when you travel at 15 kilometers an hour instead of 30. You have the energy you have to dissipate when you brake at 30 kilometers an hour is 4 times what it takes at 15 kilometers an hour. So the braking distances are multiplied by 4. It's that simple. Improve availability in adverse weather conditions. When you start providing a public service, mobility service, when it's no longer an operation, an experimentation, people want to rely on the service. If we take the example of San Sebastian, in case the bus is not there or the bus cannot operate because it's raining too hard, let's walk. Or let's take the car. But when it becomes your routine to rely on an automated shuttle, you want it to be there and to be on time and to operate. And it's when it rains a lot that you need the vehicle. So we have a serious challenge over there. And the last point is very important, is to find a sustainable business model for the transportation operators. Everyone thinks spontaneously, okay, let's pay per use. People want to use it, let's sell tickets. Yes, but how do you enforce the fact that people actually have a ticket? Are you going to pay for controllers to check that everyone has a ticket? The cost of enforcing the rule might exceed the cost of selling the ticket because you have very little passengers per shuttle. So I think we need to imagine new business models, not selling tickets. So I just give you a couple of examples. If you use shuttles to feed mass transit systems like trains, or tramways, or buses, very likely you will sell more train tickets because if we can bring more passengers to the train, then there will be more train tickets sold. So maybe the shuttle service can be provided for free in that case. Because since you sell more train tickets and because the train costs are fixed, if you increase the occupancy of the train, you can maybe pay for the service of the shuttle. Another idea would be to rely on the use of the land. Imagine a business park, a new business park. The property developer has some land available, and you have a choice. Either I create buildings with a very high density, or I have to reserve 50% of the land for the roads, the roundabouts, the car parks, and you don't rent, you don't sell the car parks and the roads and the roundabouts. So if you can create more office space, you make more money on the same plot of land. So it's a situation where removing the utilization of private cars would enable the property developer to make more profits with the office space. So in that case, they might use this technique to provide the mobility for free on the business park. And I think that's all.